Like a lot of people, I'm curious about executive orders. What do they mean? What are the president's limitations of power? What are the sources of the president's power? And so the great news for tonight, Frank, is we've got Professor Mark Seidenfeld from FSU Law School. He's a constitutional law professor, and so he's going to talk about all those issues. We were talking a little bit earlier about what are the sources of the president's power, and you had enumerated 3 of them. You want to share that with us, Professor Seidenfeld?
Sure.
And welcome to our show. Glad to have you.
Sure. Essentially, the president has powers that are can be given to him by statute, by Congress, directly to issue orders and implement the law. He also has some powers that are exclusive under the Constitution. His power as commander-in-chief, for example, would be an exclusive power, and that's a power that he holds where Congress really can't interfere with his power. And then he has the general executive power. The executive powers are vested in the president, and he has a responsibility to see that the laws are faithfully executed. He doesn't get to execute all the laws, but he has a responsibility to oversee those who are authorized to do that, the heads of agencies and the officials that work for the government.
Mm-hmm. Do you have some, you talked about statutory, exclusive, and general authority. Do you have some historical examples that you could put to each of those and kind of explain a little bit about, you know, where, what has happened in the past?
Right. I'll try to take examples that go back a ways.
Right. That's okay.
So for the statutory authority, one example, I don't know if people remember this, but in 1970 or 71, Richard Nixon was authorized by Congress to stabilize prices, and he issued an executive order imposing a 90-day wage and price freeze. So that was something where he was given that authority directly by Congress. Perhaps the most well-known, although it's not known as an executive order, but well-known executive order was issued by President Lincoln in his commander-in-chief capacity, was the Emancipation Proclamation, which was actually a military order freeing the slaves in those in the Confederate States not controlled by the Union as a war matter.
And that was an executive order.
Yeah, that is fascinating.
That is.
That was done by executive order.
Right. And the other orders are orders that the president issues to officials to do things. So I think, I may be wrong about this, but I think President Obama issued his, the Dreamers, the DACA order, saying that those individuals that came to the country when they were under 16 years of age and haven't committed any crimes get to stay here. That was really a instruction to his head of the Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, to issue to engage in and issue an enforcement policy, which Jay Johnson did. But that's executing the law, asking your officials to do something that you'd like them to do.